And they said it's gonna be, if we do it the other way, half lane, one half open, it adds a year and a half to the project, and it adds $10 million to the project.
Okay.
How long is it gonna be?
About, they're saying right now, approximately 8 months of complete shutdown.
Oh, good, how you doing?
And then, after that, it's gonna still be another 13 months, but you'll have light and you'll be able to transit.
It'll be one lane?
The reason is the bridge is built, it's a girder style bridge, and they say if they take off half the weight, it's gonna, it can change the dynamics of the bridge. So yeah, Fort Fairfield, sorry, but yeah.
Well, I can get to the Fort Bridge pretty quick. The other Fort Bridge, Fort Limestone Bridge.
And then what, come out?
Well, I'm working at DFAS now, so I'll have to go through Limestone.
So I asked them, I said, when are you guys planning on letting us know about?
You work at DFAS? You do?
Since last September.
Really?
Yeah.
You
Don't
like
ask
it?
me about my old job because I just got off the phone with my old boss for an hour and a half. It's bad. They don't have any, they don't have anybody to take my place over there yet.
Really?
My old job.
Yeah.
We can make it
It's
public.
bad.
We can make it public.
I said, do you guys wanna have a, do you guys wanna host a public meeting?
They're like, absolutely not. No, of course they don't.
Not a lot of.
So what was your old job?
I ran the seed there.
That's what I thought, yeah.
They're trying to run it out of Augusta.
Yeah.
They're not trying to replace your,
They are, but
oh.
they.
Who did it before you?
It was Allison Todd.
Did Aaron Buzza do that?
No, Aaron Buzza works at the university, the farm over there. The university.
Oh, he does,
Extension.
the experiment farm, yeah. But you worked out to the seed farm? out to-
No, I worked in the office.
Oh.
Yeah. The potato board took that over. Back
Right.
about 15 years ago.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so,
It's
Oh.
not ideal structure.
so how's DFAS?
I work in the budget office, so it's not bad.
Yeah? Are you on site or are you home?
I'm on site.
Yeah. Most people are home, aren't they?
No.
They've all come back?
Most people are back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Unless if you have a RA,
Yeah, my wife's got one,
reasonable accommodation.
which they're kinda.
what, to be home?
Yeah,
Yep.
Like what would be an RA? What's,
well,
you like to be close to the fridge or what?
Anxiety disorder, allergens, I don't know,
it's pretty liberal.
whatever you wanna, whatever you wanna.
Don't like people?
I'll tell you why, I'll tell you why they're being pretty liberal, because either that or people are quitting,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Because they got used to staying home, they want to stay home?
Well, half the workforce was hired
During.
during telework only,
Right,
so.
what they
don't
like.
know any different.
yeah.
So I came in on the tail end of it, whatever, no big deal. But it,
Oh,
yeah.
we're green. That mic must be on.
Is it me?
No, it must be that mic.
You want me to shut it off?
Oh.
There is something that's on, because I can hear it on my phone.
Might be not on.
Well, I got this one on.
No, is it?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you want me to start without Dave? He's gonna roll in here in about 6 minutes.
Whatever you wanna do. You are the chair.
Well, we're already running behind, so we'll open this up. I guess mic's on.
Mic's on.
Mic's on now.
Okay, I have to somehow figure out how to turn the sound off of this. I absolutely hate the technology. Yeah. Okay. Somebody wanna say something, see if I'm hearing it back in this?
Can you hear me? Okay. Perfect. You good? Oh.
This needs to be off, but I don't know why it's
Sorry.
You have that again, but I can mix it.
Somebody want to try it? See, I can hear myself. on
Test,
something.
test, test.
Yeah, I can hear you. on
Hello?
here.
Is it your
It's not
mic?
supposed to. No, mine's off.
You cannot join the audio.
Okay, you want to try it again?
Just around the corner.
All right, let's see.
Yeah.
Do you want to try it? Just see if I'm-
Is that better?
That was a good start.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Alright, we're good.
Okay.
All right, the time is 6:07. Call the meeting to order. Caribou Planning Board regular meeting Thursday, May 8th. We do have a quorum. Are there any conflicts of interest? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 2, we have acceptance of minutes. We have 3 months. We have February, March 13th, April 10th.
Can we do them together?
If you put a motion forward, yes, absolutely.
I'd move to accept the minutes of February 27th, March 13th, and April 10th as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Frank, seconded by Eric. We'll take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And the motion passes to accept minutes. Item 3, we have a public hearing. It is 6:08. We will open the public hearing. Penny, are there any letters in from citizens?
Not that I saw. And they were supposed to come to me if somebody had them.
Okay. So, anybody else in the public want to speak about the ordinances? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at, I'm going to round it up to 6:09.
Were you doing them both?
The ordinances?
Yeah.
Yes. Both together.
Okay.
A and B. So we have proposed ordinances for nuisance ordinances, pages 9 through 12. And then anti-blight is 13 through 16. I'm inclined to, I don't know if Dave has any additional comments on these or not, if they were covered last meeting.
Right.
Everything's in,
Yeah, covered them all. Everything was in there, man, that he was looking for.
Mhm.
And she was bringing.
okay. Is there any additional discussion on the ordinances as presented? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we accept both A and B as presented?
To send to the city council?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Frank. Take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Ordinance is passed to be sent to the city council for acceptance.
Okay, who had the motion, who had the second?
Steve and then Frank. Moving on to unfinished business, item number 4. Comp plan. Mr. Gardner?
Oh, I'll let Karen. do it.
Oh.
You're not welcome.
Well, we've been working on this together.
Yes, we have.
But staff would like some guidance. Go to the, make sure it's on.
I think it's green, I think it's on.
Okay, is it on?
No, I shut it off.
Oh, okay.
There's Mr. Corvo just in time.
Oh, good. I did.
6:11.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so we're doing the future land use section of the comp plan, okay? And one of the important maps for that is called designated growth areas, all right? So you have, I kind of put together, I haven't written it up yet. We haven't written, I'm gonna say we haven't written it up yet because I was wanting to go through this list with you. This is kind of a, and we'll do that really quickly tonight, a compilation of some of the things that we've talked about and with the community over the last 2 years about growth areas and things that we're talking about for future development for Caribou. So we can do that, and I also brought the 2014 designated, well, they call it a proposed growth area.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a lot simpler than I thought it was gonna be, but I would really like you all to, I don't know if we have enough time to discuss all this tonight. North Star Planning will do the final map. They've been doing some good maps for us, okay? So we just need to give them what we want this map to look like.
Mm-hmm.
The 2014 map was very simple. It was a blue line around, I don't know if Penny's gonna be able to put it up, overlaid over the existing zoning map, okay? And I have a better copy. Look at it. This is the detail. Do I have enough to put on one?
You should have 10.
Okay.
Which I don't need one if you need this
So
one.
it might be the best solution for you to mark it up. Like, there's something really obvious that stands out to me as the riverfront being industrial, you know,
Yeah.
in the future. So we do not want that. We don't have our new zoning yet, but this is going to justify the new zoning. I don't know. Want to look at one of these? Okay. I need one. So, first of all, let's talk about this list on this sheet right here, okay? This is like the bare bones narrative, okay? This is just under designated growth areas discussion, okay? So if you could go down through these, I don't know if I really need to read them, but it talks about, you know, this is all what we've talked about, the background for the new zoning, okay? So residential, small commercial, mixed use, primarily around the urban core, extending out past the school and the wellness center. We're gonna talk about South Main, I think, later. Infill, think about this in terms of the narrative for future land use. We wanna talk about infill development, okay, to reduce blight, make efficient use. Promote active transportation, city-owned properties on the riverfront, mixed-use zone. They'll anchor the mixed-use zone down there. Expand riverfront access and recreational areas. Encourage mixed use and infrastructure expansion along South Main Street down to the, from downtown to West Presque Isle Road intersection. connecting to the Route 1 sewer main, potential alternate use of the current snow dump. I think that's the same as the Polaris Drive-In, right? That you talked about last week, right? I remember that, but I don't know if I ever went there, but it was right at my time when I got here. Okay, advocate with MADOT for modifying the current limited, I don't like the word curb cuts because I don't really use curb cuts, that's kind of a colloquialism, but we want to open up the limited access. It's a limited access status and promote mixed development. Limited controlled conversion of farmland. This is kind of going to be the bare bones of the narrative, and I want to make sure you all agree with this. We'll write it into a narrative as far as what Caribou desires for future development. Limited industrial development in designated areas only, not at the riverfront. I put that in there because we have it on the riverfront right now. As long as you agree with that, small industries preferred. Caribou Industrial Park, Outer York Street, Washburn Road, former Sear Foods, which you talked about at your last meeting. Promote development in the TIF. So the TIF, we probably should put our TIF districts. It would be nice to put our TIF districts on
On the map.
the future
Yeah.
designated growth areas. Commercial development at former Birdseye, compatible with a new police station. Jim and I, we almost applied for a grant for that, but we couldn't do it this year to do site design review for that. We came up with some pretty cool ideas we'll talk about in the future. We're gonna probably work with EPA this summer, hopefully, to do a redevelopment plan for Birdseye, which Penny and I had a conversation, we want to call it Caribou Crossing. We don't want to call it Birdseye anymore. Because it's going to be kind of a mixed use development with maybe a major retail with a small strip mall or something like that, whatever. But we'll see. That has to be a community decision with a planner. And I think we can get a free engineering design plan from EPA because it's a former brownfield site. Anyway, and potential for use of North Caribou recreation, the hospital zone, potential health-related business development expansion. I don't know that there's much we can do at the airport. We're limited by FAA, but that keeps coming up. The former, trailer park. I don't know what we want to say about future development at the airport, if anything. Okay, so that's a question mark for you guys.
The airport committee is considering different ideas for that.
Right.
Building hangars is one of the things that they want to expand, down toward the trailer park and maybe even.
So airport related.
It has to be aviation related.
Aviation related.
Unless we want to segment it off and sell it or whatever, but as long as it's part of the airport property, it
Should
needs
be.
to be aviation
Okay,
related.
that's a good term I can put in there, okay. And you all talked about the Grimes Road, former freezer plant down there, potential agricultural development, growth, commercial development, prioritize housing, our ongoing, so that goes into, okay, the bulleted list, okay? So these are all things that are kind of in planning that aren't done yet that we want to incorporate and add on as addenda to this plan. The update of the Caribou zoning ordinance, which will do these things, okay, and more, question marks. Again, asking for your input. Ensure planning, that's city development committees, blah, 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 future development about Loring. Okay, so then we've got the housing plan, the riverfront plan, the village partnership plan, and a new plan that's coming out in June, a community resiliency plan, which will be a nice kind of a conclusion. It's going to be a chapter at the end of the comp plan.
What does that mean, Karen?
Community resilience?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it started out as the emergency management did a study on climate change and hazards like flood and storm events. And we don't have too much of that, but mostly the storm events in the summer and in the fall and in the winter. Okay, so supposedly the weather events are getting more severe when they happen, okay, and that there's a trend towards that, so it's managing that. But then we're also looking at socioeconomic resiliency, okay? So they're looking at like the social network of resources for things that people need, like farmers markets and food deserts. This is something that actually North Star Planning has also got a grant from the state to do an initial community vulnerability study for us, for things to look into. And some of these are some of the people that, I guess there are a lot of people in need, social groups in need and things like that. And climate, Penny can help me with that too, because we just had a conference call with them. But it's not, so for example, in the spring, if there's an extreme ice out or rainstorm that melts all the snow, it causes problems with the sewer district. They end up having to just bypass into the river, which they don't like to talk about that, but they do that. They have to do that sometimes. And then we've got, of course, Grimes Road. We've got areas, and so part of the vulnerability there, as we heard in the council meeting, is maybe communications, maybe offering, heating and cooling centers during these major events, making sure we have good internet, having resource centers where people, one of the things they're looking at is for having places where people can go for resources. Like we have an access point at the library that Agency on Aging, I think, started that. Maybe do one at the hospital, maybe do one here. Anyway, North Star Planning did a lot of actually research from different people in the community, and they're coming up with that resiliency study. Okay, so it's a thing. It's the Governor's Office of Innovation and the Future or something like that.
Is it new?
Relatively, but it's.
I think like 2021,
It's
Go
kind-
PIF, they call it.
And we had
Policy,
an initial.
Innovation, and the Future.
In 21,
The Governor's Office
Go
of
PIF.
Policy, Innovation, and the Future. They call it Go PIF.
Go PIP.
Oh,
Go PIF.
And it started in 21. There was actually some kind of community input meeting back in 21 that they're working off of. And then they went and got some more. We gave them some names of people, and they went and got more. And so they're doing an initial vulnerability study that's coming out in June, and then they're hoping to do there's going to be a full-blown grant opportunity in August, okay, that they're looking at. It's something like Penny and I don't need any more to do, but they're doing all the work, and then they just check in with us to make sure it kind of goes. Anyway, and part of it is the basis of it is this 2021 community survey that was done, which, I don't know, were you part of that? Yeah, so they gave us a matrix, check off these problems in the community, blah, blah, blah. And so that's going to be incorporated into the plan too. Community resiliency, all right?
And this just opens up different grants.
Yeah, the
especially
whole
for like,
office.
some of this is foundational for like the utilities district. And so that by having all this done, and then the council passed a resolution at their last meeting to get in the Go PIF resiliency community, which that's all been submitted. It just helps open up for other grants that deal with these resiliency things, yeah.
And is there Caribou data on resiliency?
The emergency management has Caribou climate data in their study, okay, on increased storm events and things like that. The socioeconomic data is pretty qualitative, okay? They've been talking to different people in the community, like ACAP and the soup kitchen and
Food pantries.
Yeah, the food pantry thing.
There was some other, they had a whole list of stakeholders. We gave them the names. We didn't even have to do it.
People at the
Yeah.
library, and
Just did
they
it.
went out and had a survey. There are two people involved. There's North Star and then this
Siler Climate Consulting. Yeah.
Consulting.
But they're the ones that applied for and got the grant
Yeah,
to
they
do
just got
Caribou
it.
as one. They're doing another community too. Caribou's one of the two communities that they're doing.
And there's actually, who I met in Bangor last night, a young man that works for NMDC, and he actually was hired as their resiliency
Oh, that
planner.
must be that Jacob Tapley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, Jake Tapley, yeah, and he's based in Bolton, but he comes up. And he's got a whole full-time job on this resiliency thing, so it's a thing, okay? That's, funding is coming in to help increase the safety net in the community. It would, again, the biggest bucks would be the sewer and water district to preserve our sewer and water systems. I mean, it also goes to internet and energy and, you know, all kinds of stuff, but mostly, I think they're coming up with a lot of food and socioeconomics, the senior citizens, access to resources, not being isolated, checking up on people, and having peer-to-peer groups that check up on each other. They're talking about stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of ancillary to this. So this is the map. This is all they did last time. They put this blue line on the map. This is where future development is going in Caribou. Okay. The biggest changes that the planning board is looking at for the zoning is the riverfront, right? Riverfront, and changing some of these commercial zones to mixed use, right? Like, isn't that, because this is gonna form like the foundation for your new zoning, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it would be really great to have either here verbally or written, a summary from you guys, of how you see that whole zoning thing. The big changes in the zoning.
So, mixed use is going to be most of High Street,
Down South Main.
down South Main Street. I think we were going to extend it across Herschel Street, right?
I don't remember.
Because I think we've got some
But
spot
we already have
zoning.
some, that's right.
We've got
yeah.
some spot zoning there as well. All the way out South Main Street, and then all the way from South Main Street intersection with Route 1 to the Presque Isle line.
Right, remember that. And that's RC2.
That's RC2, but we weren't.
We're gonna call it mixed use now, or
we
you
weren't-
weren't gonna go as far, right?
We weren't gonna go the full depth. We were gonna do, well, the parcel depth. What were we gonna do? 200 feet deep or 100 feet deep through
Right.
parcels.
So that's the other thing that North Star
Mhm.
needs to do, is this and the
Mhm.
zoning need
Mhm.
to be based on parcel lines. So when we start redoing the zone, and we do the new zoning map, it has to actually, so that green right there, the RC2, we would have to maybe, I don't know,
There's
how,
some very deep parcels on South Main Street
right.
that go.
But I think, didn't they say that was a state thing now? That
Did
that
they?
they have to be like the whole parcel? I was
Right.
thinking that they
Well,
said that
why
that's
they're
a state
saying that
requirement.
They want the parcel map to be able to make us a map,
Mhm.
okay, for future, land use. So if we're making that all mixed use, it needs to be in line with, I don't know if this blue line is, I don't think it's the back line of parcel, I mean, I don't.
No,
That
it
is
isn't, because
not-
like, so this
Right.
green zone, which is the RC2 district, but also corresponds with the boundary of the RC2 TIF district.
Okay,
Those are not full parcels, and I
Yeah.
can tell you that for sure,
Yeah.
because I have to go through a 3-step process every commitment to value the increment of that, because they're not full parcels.
oh, wow. So it's, that green right now is based on the TIF.
Well, I think this maybe came before
Oh.
they did the TIF. You know what I'm saying? They just like, oh, the boundaries are gonna be this RC2 zoning area. We're gonna make that the RC2 TIF.
So if we made the mixed-use zone the TIF, the
Well,
same
this
as
is
the
only
TIF?
one part of it. This isn't the
Right.
whole thing, but I'm just saying, I know that those parcels, the parcels are bigger than what it shows
Yes.
within the blue lines.
Yeah.
Because of that process I have to do every year,
Oh,
which
even
takes a
with
long
in
time
them. Okay, okay.
to do.
So you and I we're probably gonna have to figure out where these lines are gonna go, okay? And we just have to possibly, it doesn't even have to this is overlaying the zoning, okay? We
Mhm.
don't and that's probably not relevant to our future land use right now, because we
I-
don't have the new zone.
Right, and I think that it was, The future growth areas.
Right.
That's what has to be the full parcel, not necessarily zoning or anything like that.
Right,
It's
so the future growth area,
Oh, okay, I
The,
see what you're saying.
like here,
Yeah.
that's in the blue
So it's gonna be
line.
all jagged once you get out to those bigger
Yes,
parcels
yeah,
to get the whole thing.
exactly.
Gotcha.
and we don't have to designate exactly what kind of growth, we just put it in the narrative, and then the new zoning will do that. So really, the fact that they just have this blue line, that's really, and that's gonna have to follow the parcel lines, right? The future growth
That was my impression from our
Understanding from
conversation.
them, right. So, pretty much it's gonna stay the same, except there's a piece of Route 1 that's not in it, which we might wanna include in it.
That, right, are you talking about on the south of the page?
On
Yeah, that
this,
gets
like
cut
where
off.
the blue line
Yeah.
goes in, maybe if people are talking about wanting Route 1 to be, opened up for development, the
Yes.
blue line should go
Yes.
straight there, not
Mm-hmm.
go
Till you hit
back
the
in.
riverfront development, till you hit the riverfront.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to hit, kind of the riverfront there.
Yep.
Um,
'Cause-
That would be a big change. Just looking at that blue line now, forget about the zone.
Yeah.
Because we can't, what, do you think that, if we, we're gonna have to, so I see some of it is, like, you can see the runway, it cuts across the runway.
Yes.
See, you can't do that now either, because it's gonna
Right.
have to follow the parcel line.
Right, right.
The development area,
The growth area.
the growth area, yep. Yep.
So, and another one, it looks like Sweden Street on the north, it's going right down the center of the road. So we would want that to encompass the lots on the other side of the road probably too, right? So we're gonna use their guidance to North Star, and we'll run it by you guys, all right, to make sure, but it's not gonna be too different from this, okay? And again, we
Unless
won't-
you have strong feelings about
Yeah,
something
right.
on here.
And we won't have it overlaying a zoning, because we don't wanna lock ourselves into anything with zoning right now, because we're redoing our zoning, which is gonna come afterwards,
Yeah.
okay? It'll be finalized after this. But, think about where this blue line is, think about that it's gonna have to follow parcels, all right? Now, I noticed that it's, going over the river, centered on the Route 161,
Yep.
going to Fort Fairfield.
Yep.
Do we want to keep that as a future growth area right there? On the
You mean
other
this on
side?
the River Road? I mean, I think they do have access to water and sewer there.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I think you have
do.
sewer quite a ways out on the River Road too. I mean, it's pretty built up out there.
Oh, yeah, so we have to, find where the water and sewer line is.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, 'cause I know
follow
it
the water
extends
and sewer
on,
lines, yeah, or
it
at least
extends on East West Ave.
one or the other, yeah. And if we do have a future
Oh.
growth area that isn't served, well, then and we want it to be served, okay, being in the future development zone is gonna be justification down the road for that to happen, if you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
okay? So,
I mean, I think you also want to put the hospital inside the blue line, right?
isn't that blue is the hospital? The blue.
Oh, the light blue.
Yeah, the light
Oh,
blue
got
is
you.
the
It's a hospital,
existing
okay.
hospital
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good then.
So what about the little point, is that on the river, the Madawaska River? Is that?
Yeah, that goes to the stream, like that's where like Dodo's and
Mad-
the 2 mobile home parks.
Okay, is that a good ending point going down in there? Everybody, like, all these little ins and outs we're gonna it has to align with lot lines.
And I don't know if they did it, do you remember, Steve? Did they put that there because you had the RC2 zoning out there? Is that why they
I think-
captured that area?
I think it went to the bridge,
Yeah,
but looking at this, if possible, to have the blue line actually follow the Madawaska stream, which would then include what had been the mobile home park.
Okay.
Because that parcel actually runs all the way down to the stream,
right?
where the river turns to the south. And then actually it would just come right back around.
Oh, instead of being such a straight diagonal line, you're
Through-
saying have it
through-
follow the stream?
Yeah, and because that would then include the two mobile home parks.
Okay, you mean where the
And-
intersection of
And
the
again,
two-
come
yeah.
back to the, with the,
Follow the
I
stream,
want
which
to say, I want
again,
to say
that's
Bog,
gonna be.
I want to say Bog Road, but it's not Bog Road. The road beside
Noise.
Dodo's,
Noise.
Noyes Road. You know, to that bridge.
Okay, well, just mark yours up and give it to me. Because I don't know exactly what you're saying, but if you would suggest that, that would be great. And any other ideas you have as far as, like, just conceptualizing where you might want to see, where we would allow or want to see future development, this blue line, okay? Knowing again that it's gonna go by parcels. For example, where it cuts across the runway, that's not gonna happen. So any more thoughts on that, just let us know. That's gonna go out there. We'll work on that, okay.
Should we highlight the area down in South Main Street where the snow dump is? Because I know we're extending, or we're planning on extending the sewer line down there. And that snow dump is kind of central to that whole strategy.
Mhm.
You know, we'll be able to develop that 9 or 10 acres that are down there.
I'm looking.
That's it, yeah, that's
that
in there already.
in
So
the
that's,
red?
so that would be,
It's in,
Is that
inside of the
piece?
red,
blue line.
this is
Is
it
that
right
that
here.
jagged,
Yeah.
So it's in the
rectangle?
blue line.
It's within the.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And that
don't
will
know
be
whether you wanted
mixed
to
use.
Bring that out in the narrative or not.
Well, I did mention that in the list, that we want to talk about that site for future development. But if we bring that whole line out
Is that the snow dump
to the
right
other
there?
side, down to the river, that's going to open up that whole spot
Everything
that we've
take
been
down.
talking about for future
Take the
housing.
Sewer
and,
line all the way out.
Sewer extension. and-
That's pretty close to
Yeah, I know.
your neck of the woods.
But at least it's in the blue line.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. All right. We are on to item number 5A, Caribou Mill Pond. Who's going first? Mr. McDougal or Mr. Markey?
Yeah, he's just here for show. Good evening, my name is Shane McDougal, I'm with ABS Engineering. The city has graciously selected me to do this project for Mill Pond. So one of the first steps we wanted to do was we wanted to present this to the planning board. We don't necessarily need approval, we just want to get your buy-in. There's a few things, kind of housekeeping items to go over. So in your packet, I think Penny gave you, I did like a 4-page little site history. It talks about what our scope is, what we're doing for permitting, and then just some of the benefits we're looking at. But as you all know, pond, that dam was breached in 2018. We've been trying like beavers to get that dam back into place since then. Had a few years off just trying to get funding. The city finally got funding, and so we were able to kind of put something, a project a little more together. Part of that stumbling block was IFW wanted a fishway, and the budget back in 2019 just didn't allow for that. So, and then we thought, well, we might as well dredge the pond. It's up there. It could use a little more depth. I mean, I think normally that pond probably is a foot or maybe 1.5 feet deep. So we're looking to take that down. About 40,000 cubic feet we've estimated we take out of that pond. Basically, if you look out there and you see the dry land, that's what we're going to dredge out of there. So that's kind of a little bit of the history, and so our scope has 3 elements to it. It's dredge the pond, repair the dam back to its original height, and then install a fishway. We're looking at the fishway that's initially we were thinking was just like a rock and pool, step pool type construction. I've got a sub-consultant working with me to actually do that design. We'll see if that actually pans out, and that's the end result. So we're really in the beginning stages of this project. The permitting is, I mean, a lot of this project is really just permitting. We've got 3, 4, 5, almost 6 different types of permits. The first is we have to do, because it's got federal funding, we have to do a NEPA review through HUD. There was 2 ways to do that. One was let HUD do the review. That was a good 6, 8, 9, whatever month process, a very long process. They don't have the resources. And the other way is to have the city do the review. So along with me, and a lot of my other work, federal work I do, we do NEPA reviews. Sometimes those lead to environmental assessments. They can lead to higher environmental reviews, but this project, we don't think that's gonna happen. So we need to do, there's several steps in that NEPA review, several worksheets we need to go through and get approved. The next one, there's a couple of main DEP permits. The first one is a NERPA permit, a permit by rule. The reason we can go permit by rule is the IF&W has, you have to give me a letter, but they've said that they will be a sponsor to the project, an overseer. And because that, there's a rule within the rules that states if they are, we can do a permit by rule. So that's good because it saves, without that, we're into a full NERPA permit and there's several months and useless paper that comes along with that. So we expect that to stick and we'll be working through that. Army Corps is going to require a permit because we're working in the water. We'll also need a beneficial use permit because we're doing dredging. The nice thing about the beneficial use permit is that we won't necessarily have to de-water. Again, we're taking material that's dry right now. We're not looking to really take any of the wet stuff. So hopefully that's a relatively straightforward process. It's all going to depend on the contractor after we bid and what they plan to do with it. There's several different ways you can use it for agriculture, you can use it for construction. Most likely it's going to go to using that as construction fill. But we need to wait, get a contractor on board once design is done and bidding, then we'll decide that and we'll move forward with that permit.
Sean, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
How deep are you gonna dredge that?
only about 2 feet.
That's it?
Yep.
Reason I ask is fish aren't gonna survive in 2 feet of water. That, in the summertime, that's gonna be close to boiling point. If you could get more depth, your fish might have a better chance of hanging around.
The purpose of the fishway is to allow the fish to go upstream, not to hang out in the pond. That watershed has not had the brook trout coming in from the Aroostook River
Right.
forever. So this is a whole new habitat for them to go upstream, and there's so many different tributaries beyond the Caribou stream. You've got Hardwood Brook, you've got Mile Brook, you've got several other tributaries off of Caribou stream itself, which are doing very well for the other brook trout. So the pond is just a stopping point. It's gonna continue, they're gonna continue upstream to find cooler waters and deeper holes in the streams.
Dave, the other reason for the pond too is the bird habitat that's been lost. As you know, that's obviously been a big part of that pond is migratory birds. So this is an enhancement project, and that's how DEP is looking at this. And that's why we're getting away with doing just a NERPA permit. It's because we're trying to enhance that. So, like he said, it's not really it's more of a pass through for fish anyway.
When it was used for its original purpose, for floating logs, any idea how deep it was then?
The data that I have from FEMA shows that there's about 10 feet or so to bedrock, so it's not a very deep pond. You know, and we did some sampling here just recently that kind of confirmed that. I think a lot of that sediment is just years of stuff flowing down the river and it's built up. But bedrock's pretty shallow there.
Yep.
Yep.
The dam, Shane, the dam will be similar style or different style?
Yeah, what we're planning right now is to use sheet pile, because we're only actually have to gain about 2 or 3 feet of the dam back to its original height. So we're looking at just putting sheet pile in to do that, and then take some of those boulders that were breached before, put those kind of back in place.
You have to tell me what sheet pile is. I don't.
Sheet pile is the steel pilings that they put in the ground,
Oh, okay.
and they drive in, it forms basically a water barrier wall. Yep.
Isn't there some in the parking lot over here across the way? It's
Uh,
like smaller, it's like,
Maybe,
yeah.
yep,
Similar.
It's very
Similar to
similar,
that.
so the parking lot down by Brambleberries or whatever, those little,
If you've ever seen like a bridge built in the middle of a
Yeah.
river, they'll put sheet pile in, and then they'll pump that out just so they can do foundations.
Yep.
Yep, yep.
You know, getting back to the depth of that pond, many, many years ago, they used to harvest ice off of that pond. So I know it was deeper than 2 feet.
Yep,
It's gonna be 2-foot depth of dredging and then 2 foot of new height.
yeah, so we're gonna be 3 or 4 feet
4
at
feet.
the end of the day, yep.
And we've got to be cognizant of the landowners beyond upstream, because we are going to be affecting that. So we're working on a survey right now on how much we're going to affect the homeowners, which we don't want to affect. We want to get back to where it was originally.
Okay.
So-
I was just thinking to have recreational activity on there in the wintertime, you know, skating,
That we
sled race,
will be
not
able to
sled
still-
racing, I'm
Yep.
talking old hand sled.
you're
Type
giving him
of-
more work to do. Now he's gonna have to plow off the pond or something.
No, we got Jim Gardner for that.
So 2 other items that are more specific to the planning board is, for as far as permits, the shoreline zone permits and floodplain management permits. And I've had several discussions about this. And Penny, I think you got a call from Ross today about that. And
I did.
There was some confusion there, because I called and talked to him too. But basically, the city needs to issue a permit for shoreline zone. And then there's also what's called the floodplain management. And there are ordinances, you have ordinances in the overall ordinance. And I think the only thing missing is the actual like permit application. And I think Ross sent an example of one. So again, this is really a check the box exercise that, as I see it. But as part of that, the shoreland zone, we're gonna have, I believe, just one access point on either side of the project. The one access point will be over in the park, where there really isn't any vegetation on some of that bank. So, because the biggest thing with shoreline zone is making sure that that vegetation within 250 feet is stabilized and doesn't, and if it is disturbed, that stuff is replanted. So that's probably the biggest point with shoreline zone. Floodplain management is basically making sure that we're not affecting the floodplain. And if we do, we need to go and potentially put together a different ferment and do a whole nother flood elevation. The project doesn't want to do that. We just want to bring this back to the original height. So as we see it, we're not really affecting the floodplain. We're just putting water back where there already was. So that, again, I think more of a check-the-box exercise. So, our scope of work is to do some data collection. We're gonna do some survey, which we have done. We had someone come up here and fly with a drone with LiDAR. We did some geotechnical investigation, and then we just have to do like a desktop natural resource review. All that permitting that I discussed, again, that's the bulk of it. And then we'll do some engineering design, we'll do some plans and specs, we'll have a couple of design reviews. As part of that, we have a sub-consultant to do an H&H study, which is a hydraulic and hydrology study. And that's just to make sure that if we do need to do anything with flooding, we'll have that information available and kind of as a backup.
Who's
And-
doing the sub-consulting for you on that?
Stillwater Environmental. And then we'll get into bidding, and we've got some project administration. Of course, this being a HUD project and federal funding, there's a fair amount of task involved in just maintaining that funding and grants and whatnot. The project schedule, as I see it right now, of course, we've been delayed, but we're hoping to get under contract sometime in May, and then we'll try to complete that HUD review sometime in July. We'll look to get permits for DEP and Army Corps in August at some point, and then we'll get into design. We'll probably into parallel design with that. So I have final design sometime in August, and then depending on the bidding environment, we'll see whether we bid that out then for next year or we wait till December or January. So I don't necessarily see, unless we get we move quicker than we think, I don't think we'll see any construction this year. But we'll see, maybe part of it, so.
Could you dredge that in the wintertime?
The DEP probably look more favorably on that if you did. One thing we're gonna have to do is they're gonna make us use mats to go out there. So we'll have to walk out on mats and then work our way back. Or the contractor will, so. But you could.
You said you're gonna access it from both sides?
Yeah, the other side will be through the parking lot of SW Collins, just the dam side.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be the best area to access for the fishway.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's all I had for, again, not looking for necessarily approval or disapproval, but just want to get any input from you folks and put it out there. I'll be going in front of the city council the next meeting, kind of same spiel. Kind of get their nod and we'll just start to get going.
Shane, the funding is committed?
As far as I know.
Yes, it is.
There's no timeline that has to be spent by or anything like that?
We've got till 2030.
Okay.
Plenty of runway.
And we can ask for extensions if need be.
And we're pretty confident the amount of funding is going to address the plan?
Yeah, when we went back into this, we actually I helped Gary develop a cost estimate. Now that was now what, 2-3 years old?
Yeah.
But there's a fair amount of money there, and I think if we need to shave stuff off, well, maybe instead of 2 feet of dredging, we do 1.5 feet, or we'll figure that out as we get those. But we pumped it up knowing what we were up against, so there were some contingencies in there as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Karen, is this in the plan somewhere?
Recreation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the day, I think I remember.
But there's not gonna be much recreation. I mean, maybe in the winter, that would be something.
Well,
There will be
What can we do in the summer for recreation?
we can still fish, we can still kayak. We're planning on bringing our kayaking program there for training, helping the kids with kayaking, canoeing. My long-term goal is, we've all been down to Hollowell, down below Augusta, and along the Kennebec, they've got the big wharf, sits alongside the river. It would be really, really nice if we could set up a wharf-style system that went out to the middle of the pond, that people could sit out, enjoy the beauty of the pond when it's finished, bird watch, potentially put out maybe a pentagon-style deck, aluminum-style decking with possibly a couple grills if somebody wanted to grill out there, similar to what Edmonston's got, but not as a permanent structure as what Edmonston has over in New Brunswick. But potentially something like that. So there will be recreational activities that are be able to be had. The fishway, as Mr. McDougall indicated, the fishway is what's going to cost the majority of the project.
Mm-hmm.
We were really hoping that a nature-style fishway, and when we brought that forward to IFNW, they agreed that that could be done. Frank Frost has looked at it, and he's kind of said, yep, that could possibly work, because if we went with the regular style fishway, concrete style, we would start at the head of the dam and we would be down to the Caribou Stream Bridge
Yeah.
with concrete.
Yeah.
Oh.
We don't wanna do that.
Yeah.
That area, there's other things that we wanna do to that little area down the road, and we don't wanna make it a concrete, regular fishway, go 20 feet, and another 6 inches higher. We wanna do it rock style, crib work. We have all the rock pretty much there. We can make it work, as long as the designer can figure it out. I think we can. There's a lot of height difference. The head of the dam to the bottom of the brook, there's 20 feet of height. So it's it drops off fast. But the time of the year that the fish need to climb up the fishway, there's still good water. So we're hoping that. So if we can get done the fishway with being a rock style, nature style fishway, that's gonna reduce costs tremendously. Possibly utilizing it for more things as in dredging type of stuff. But right now, it's a 2-foot minimum. That's a lot of area to clean out. That's a big area. We got 4.59 committed. I think we can get the project done with that. And there's other grants out there in the next couple of years. We all know about the Maine Trails Bond grant that we all voted for yes. That's $30 million for the next 4 years. There's going to be a $7.5 million payout on grants. And the maximum of those grants are $250, all for recreational stuff. So we'll be able to utilize down the next couple of years some of that money as well, if we're successful in applying and getting approved. Yes, sir, Mr. Corporal.
Have you done some soil samples of that?
We did soil samples, Shane, 3 years ago now? And the soils came back clean to the point that they could be used. I believe they can definitely be used for construction and beneficial use, and also onto agricultural.
They'd have to do a little more testing to see agriculture use, but there wasn't anything that indicated.
There was not anything that indicated bad, we're
'Cause
gonna
I
turn
mean,
green.
Caribou loom is what farmers desire the most, and I was thinking that's all runoff from all the farms.
And we had heard all the years, all the stories about the cars and everything else, and
Yeah.
we did the test pits, and then we also went out 2 years ago and did some deeper tests. We wanted to see what the clay capacity was. And we never pulled a tire, we never pulled a car, we never pulled a drum, nothing. And we didn't build any wood, so we know that the Collins has got all the wood out of it. But it was, it seems to be relatively clean. I'm sure we're gonna find some automotive parts that we're gonna have to haul out in a metal pile, but what we saw so far, and I think we did was it 12 spots that we did the tests?
5.
5, but no, with
5 or
Michelle
6.
St. Peter, when she did
Oh,
the
yeah, she did, 10 or 12.
county environmental, they did, I think, 10 or 12 spots, and the ground was clean.
Where I'm going with that is if it's desirable loom, could we stockpile it and sell
We're
it to
gonna have a
gardeners?
we're gonna have a sign on the side of Robert
Free.
Street, free
You
loan.
come- You come pick it up.
Most of that is clay, actually, now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all clay.
Ah.
So.
But the clay factor is very good clay,
Yeah.
very good
The
clay.
problem with the beneficial use permit, you have to have a use.
Yep,
If you have to use it, you can't just stockpile. it.
no. And that was one of the things that they told us.
When we take out that start.
Yeah, that's what was one of the things that they had told us about the beneficial use. You can't stockpile it. It has to have a use for it. And I think the time frame was pretty quick.
Immediate.
They don't want to have 40,000 cubic yards sitting somewhere and it's just going to sit there.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a plan or requirement at all for any kind of aeration in this pond? A fountain or anything? No aeration needed? You got enough of a.
I think there's enough of a flow. It would be nice to have one just for aesthetics use, but there isn't going to be one needed. There's enough flow.
Bellagio's taking their fountain down in Vegas. Could we get some of that? Geez, that would be neat.
Road trip.
You might be surprised what you can get by just asking.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, they spent $40 million designing that and putting that up. Now they're turning that into a shopping mall. Dan, could I ask you to inquire about that with your contact?
Give me a phone contact, I'll do that. You know anybody in Vegas?
I
At the
do.
Bellagio?
I do.
They know you by name?
Art Gorney.
Art Gorney. No, we're laughing. I'll
Mr.
bet you.
Vegas.
Art could find you a contact.
Yep.
Okay, you're on.
Did you get that in the minutes, Penny?
I'm getting it there.
Let me know when you're cut up there and we'll
Yeah,
move
no,
on.
we can move on.
We're good?
These
Okay.
are- yeah.
All right, new business, item B, site design review for Caribou Police Station. I think part of our packet, we've got two 11 by 17 sheets here.
Thanks for
and
coming,
then-
guys.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks, that was great.
And then a site design application as well. And I believe we have a couple of people on Zoom.
Yep, we should have Ellen and Shelley. Ellen and Shelley, can you hear us? We're to 5B now. Oh, good.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So you're up. Yep, you're up.
Okay, bear with me, I have to pull up the plan. Okay, so, as Penny knows, and I don't know, some of you on the board might actually know as well, we've been working on the design for the new police department for a year, at least full-time for a year. And we are finally out to bid, and, so we need to get this application in for you guys to review. The lot, as you know, is the former Birdseye lot, 27 Birdseye Avenue, the address. The entire lot is 21.5 acres, plus or minus, and we are taking up a portion of it, and I can't remember exactly how much it entails on that. My guess is it's probably, it's the entire corner that goes from Route 1 all the way up to the adjacent, there's a outlot there along 4th Street. And so the building is on the upper part of that, and I have to just see your plan there. So it includes about 11,000 square feet of building itself, with parking that is on the front of the station, which I would call the opposite side of 4th Street, because that entrance would come in from the end of Birdseye Avenue. And then that parking would be for public. And then on the west side of the building, there will be secure parking for the police vehicles. And that's where the sally port would be, and entrance for the police staff on that side. We've had to include a portion of roadway that would extend from the end of Birdseye Avenue down to just beyond the station, and that can be used as right-of-way in the future for your plans on the future redevelopment of that lot. We designed the road so it will be sufficient to meet your standards width and the depth and the materials adequate for a city road. So we expect that, at some point in time that will be part of your future development there. In order to provide water to the building, to the new building, we need to bring a new line in from the end of Birdseye Avenue, so there'll be an 8-inch line, I believe, running all the way past the station, and there'll be a hydrant near the end of that line, and then coming off the station, coming off the end of that line, we'll have the fire line and the switch for the new station, going, north, along the inside up to the north corner there, and for this particular project, the sewer is actually running down along 4th Street and then crossing to the main on 4th Street. We've discussed with the utilities district and original plan doesn't for Route 1 and 2. But it seems that compliance is not as good, and they would prefer that we go into the line on the other side of 4th Street. So that is what we've designed it to. I know there's something about it, we need to add a couple of manholes along that line. I think that's going to be something that. Uh-oh. It looks like Shelley just dropped off. Unfortunately, oh, there she's back, because she's much more adept at explaining the site constraints and conditions than I am. So hopefully she's back. Are you back, Shelley?
Shelley's not back.
Oh, she's there.
No, she's there,
Oh,
she's
she's
just
muted.
muted.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm still here. I didn't know if you could hear me or not. I don't know if I could- No, you're kind of dropping off. How far did I get before you lost? Okay, yeah, so the sewer line is going across Fourth Street, and there'll be a manhole on the police station side of that, but nothing until, unless they feel the need to add one on Fourth Street on that line, which actually happens to be, I think, it's off.
Did we lose her again?
Just keyed into that line. So as far as the rest of the utilities, there is, with our mechanical engineering, mechanical electrical engineers have been in contact with Versa Power, but my understanding is that everything will come into the new building from the lines on Fourth Street. There's some existing poles that are there, the lines on them, which we have not really yet, the last I had heard, we had determined whether those are active now, but, so we will be bringing the line into a transformer, into the new station, at that northeast corner.
That's not identified on the plan yet?
It should be shown on the plan there, it's the little square, it's the little,
It's right here, if you're looking, this little
Oh,
square
she
right
said the
here.
northeast, she said
Yeah.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
right
there it is, okay.
Yep.
So, and there's, they do drop down towards Route 1 quite steeply there, and so the low, as you go towards Route 1, along the east side of the road, we're having a gravel access drive that will go down to a basement mechanical level for the station, so all of the mechanical systems are in the basement. There'll be a generator pad for a generator that will be served by propane, and everything, mechanical, electrical, all of that connection is in the lower level, not up in the public, where you would, it's all taken care of in the basement level, so it's maintained that way. And the access is down by road. As far as like runoff and drainage is concerned, everything kind of flows, it has historically gone down to the corner of 4th Street and Route 1. And there's a low spot as you get down close to the edge where there used to be an old foundation, it used to be like a pump house or some kind of a building there, but there's quite a bit of drainage underground there that still, I guess, has some water coming in out of it. We have taken a good portion of our drainage down to the undeveloped portion of the lot, and we're allowing that to go into a settling basin, and then over a rock berm that will spread away to allow that drainage to run into, the existing facility area. And then the portion of it that runs along the west side will be collected at the top of the hill into a basin at the northwest corner, and that basin will outlet into the drainage ditch that runs along 4th Street, and then make its way in the same direction as where all that drainage is going now. So, everything that we have included some underdrain in the road, hoping to get these there, although we do have a surface roof, just to drain the surface for any water that happens to be in the ground, will be taken away by that, drain and out of that, at the same location as the far end of that drive currently. Thinking that that's about it for that. I don't believe we're gonna need to have we maybe have to have a road opening permit to cross. We definitely need to cross Fort Street with the sewer, but there is already an existing entrance at the corner of Birdseye Avenue, so I think we're okay with us having to get, I don't think we need a permit to, open that road to actually, accelerate a driveway entrance. But Penny, there's someone could correct me if I'm wrong on that. We probably will need to notice the DEP for stormwater notification that we're doing some earth moving there. I had inquired a while back about a DEP permit. We don't feel, they did not see a need for any permitting, and we're not creating enough impervious new to require one. I've never had one before. So it's not really, it's not redevelopment. So I think, at the least, probably we have to do a notification to, for general erosion control, we might have to do a permit by rule. But all they're doing is for erosion and sediment control. And we pretty much handled that, with the design plan that we have currently. And I guess, there is a full set of drawings for construction, and I didn't send it up to you, but if you do need pictures of like the elevations of the building, what it's going to look like, and I'm sure the chief would be happy to share the rendering that we provided at one point in time of what the last go around of the rendering, and what that would look like with you all. And Penny might have that on her computer, but. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. We're hoping that the bids will come in and everything will be within budget, and we can get started as soon as we can get these final permits done. It does have a fire marshal permit approval already, so they're pretty much ready to hit the ground. The contractors should them.
Shelley, just for your reference, we do need building elevations and structural plans for the full site design review.
Okay, and I mentioned this to Penny earlier too. I don't know if it's better for your review to break those out of the full set of construction documents and send them to you in a smaller package, because there are a lot of sheets, so you may not want to read through all of those. So I can definitely break out what you would be interested in seeing.
Yep, just you can break the sheets out, that's fine.
Okay. And I can send them up as a reduced size, a regular size copy. You can print them on, they will be very small though, so if you do want full size print, I have to get this printed and send them up. Just let me know what you need us to do.
Yeah, I think probably at least one set would be nice for review.
Okay, I can do that. And so as far as I know, I remember there will be another meeting following this one to review the rest of that information. Is there a particular time frame that anybody would need stuff back to them? And we have all the information already, so it shouldn't be a problem. So I was just wondering, if there's anything else that I need to get to you, and certainly it's open to any questions that you have.
Yeah, typically we will send it we have to open it for public hearing. And if when are the bids coming back?
I believe it's June 12th. June 12th. I'll be up there on May 21st, so I guess that's 2 weeks. I'll be up there for the pre-bid. Yeah. And then the actual bids are due
That's probably, what's the 12th? Is that that's probably very close to our next meeting. That's the day of our next meeting, so
Mhm.
is that gonna work for you to have a public hearing that night?
Sure, if you want to.
I think that, I mean, unless if you need it earlier, but it doesn't sound like you need it before the 12th. Yeah, so we'll plan on having the public hearing and full site review on the 12th.
Okay, so we can make sure that the plans get delivered to you, on the next time, at the pre-bid meeting. Yeah, I can bring them up.
Yep, that would be fine.
Okay. Any other questions, or if there's anything that needs to, that we need to get extra to you, just, send a message. I'm sure Penny will shoot that through if she needs something that we haven't given her. How many copies of the drive do you need?
It's 3 sets of 24 by 36.
So these drawings are 30 by 42, so they will be reduced.
If that's the case, I would suggest, because they're going to be signed, I probably want them to scale. So if you don't mind bringing the full size set.
Yeah, full size is probably better anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. Three sets?
3 sets of just what you're submitting for the planning board. So elevations, structural, and site design, or the civil drawings.
Do you need to sign all of this, each one individually? Should I provide a signing block for each one, or just for the site plan, the first page?
Just the cover page.
Okay. Okay, I can do that. It's already on there now, so I mean, I can just make sure that, do we have enough space for people to sign? I don't know if you have like 4 members or 5 members.
We have 7, but 6 elected right now.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Okay.
6 right now.
So, okay. Okay.
Who knows, maybe by June we'll have, someone else will say, geez, planning board looks very cool. I wanna be a part of that. I mean, a girl can dream.
All right, well, I appreciate you guys turn around on the information. I was a little surprised that there was a meeting today, and I'm actually on my way back from Boston right now. So I appreciate that you can hear me well.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ellen, thanks, Shelley. If we have questions, I'll be sure to send them.
Sounds good, Penny.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Madam Chairperson, did you intend to take a vote on the concept plan approval?
Just to push it to public hearing. And then we'll do typically we do the full review after the public hearing.
So the public hearing will be on the concept plan, and there will not be a public hearing on the final plan?
Now, we don't have a public hearing on the concept plan, do we?
No, I mean,
No.
we should have the final plans
Right.
on, they're gonna be sending them.
Right.
That's what I thought I
Yeah.
understood, so-
Yeah.
I asked for final plans.
Final plan?
Yep, so this is our concept review.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my question is, do you require a vote to approve the concept plan that you heard tonight?
To move it to public hearing, yes.
Okay.
We do, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. I do, Dave, were you on the building committee, or anybody who was on the city council was on the building committee?
Mayor Boma, Councilor Terrio, and Councilor Kelly.
Okay.
And then before that, it was
Right.
Councilor Morrow, and before
Yeah.
that was Councilor Ayer. But Councilor Terrio and Mayor Boma have been on for quite a long time.
I
That
know
third
there's a
seat has
reason
been.
that there isn't an entrance on Fort Street. But why? I don't remember why.
So there is a place that could have an entrance, but it's the elevation.
The topography.
Yeah,
They didn't want- you
the
can't, like,
topography, yeah.
cut it.
What's that?
You can't cut it.
I don't
The only
know.
reason I'm asking
Mhm.
is,
Good.
because we can't have one on Route 1.
No.
The next logical one would be Fort Street, which is a very busy street.
Because we had talked about having one there, but only for police vehicles.
Right, which makes sense, right?
know,
You're trying to
Yeah.
get in and out, right?
Mhm.
They have 2 entrances here.
Yep.
Here they only have 1,
Mhm.
in and out.
Why don't I re-ask that question, and so we can have it as part of the record?
The other question I have is, I'm assuming the pretty elevation is facing the parking lot. Because on the
Yes.
back side, there's
But
a
the
heat
back side,
pump
yeah.
and a transformer and a generator.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find the.
Hidden behind a stockade fence.
Hidden behind a stockade fence, what do you mean?
Yeah,
It's right there.
Where?
on the plan.
This. Pole found that fence, chain link.
To the east of the chain link.
Right there, there's just a picture of it.
Wood screen fence. Oh, well, oh, you mean the generator? Yes, yeah. For about 5 years.
I'm just thinking out loud, that where there's an elevation from Fort, couldn't you not have a nice
You just,
channel that would go right to your basement?
No basement.
there is a basement
Well, there's
Oh,
a
there is?
small,
There is.
like, mechanical
for
room.
mechanical room on the back side, yeah.
But initially, the plan was to have it a full basement, so the Sally door
Right.
would come straight in off Fort
Yeah.
for that purpose of bringing potential prisoners in.
But is no longer.
No, it's up in the parking lot.
All right.
That probably saved money.
Gotta love value engineering.
Yeah, that's, or even the service drive, although you'd have to move the generator and the propane tank. Oh, the propane tank is buried.
Yep.
So if it blows, it goes straight up. No shrapnel sideways.
Thanks, Dave, for that beautiful image.
Hey.
Okay.
Happy, happy.
Hey. I'm always thinking safety, Penny.
Yes, it's all about safety.
So do I need to make a motion to move it to public hearing?
Unless if there's any other feedback that we want to provide to Artifacts on the.
Here's what it's supposed to look like.
Right, but do we have any sight lines or anything from Route 1?
Let me keep looking. Keep chatting amongst yourselves. I'll see what I can find.
I'm just wondering,
I've seen
the
some.
Caribou
analysis before.
Gateway,
Yeah, yeah.
should be
Caribou
visible.
Crossing. That's what we.
Caribou Crossing
so
should
we-
be visible from Route 1. And I'm just curious if we have any
Yeah.
elevations from that angle.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Can you ask AI to find that for you?
I hate technology, and you
thing,
know that,
too-
Dave. So don't be like that.
I mean, there's another steep, whatever. The other question for future reference, if you guys are talking about getting a plan and a master plan for the rest of the site development, it might behoove us to figure out what DEP permitting we would need to do for the remainder of the site and infrastructure that would be needed.
That's all part of the plan.
Right. I know there's some infrastructure
There.
there, but is it usable?
Right, that would all be,
Yeah,
Yeah.
We talked about all that.
Yeah.
But until we have some engineering
yeah,
tech expertise, we can't tell right now.
yeah.
But that's, we're hoping, I don't know how far EPA is gonna, how much they're gonna do for us for free, but we're working on trying to get that, they have a whole division of, you know, refurbishing these brownfield sites and
Mhm.
doing a plan with
Mhm.
public input,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, the berms, the sediment control details are on there already. Sign, I don't see is there an
My
entrance
question
sign?
is, you got sediment control basins in an area that's got contamination. How far down is it going?
Sediment control is for
I don't have my glasses, I can't read it, so I'm sorry, but,
the sediment basin.
yeah. Is it like 6 feet or, 5 feet or something, shallow, but,
Stone berm level spreader. Where's that? Stone, oh, that's for the runoff that they couldn't catch. Oh, no, they're taking the storm drain right there and dumping it there.
It says here they're going 16 feet. No, I'm just kidding.
no.
Remove sediment following construction and stabilize the settlement basin with level spreader. Storm drain.
Well, you can't really see these here because, I mean, if
No,
we had a smart screen. you'd
No, it's
be able to
okay,
see it.
I couldn't read it, and I just,
Did you ask them to do those right now? She said, is there anything else?
Yeah, I think we have them, I just can't find them.
Yeah.
On demand, but
I would be surprised if
believe-
you don't have something
We,
from
we
that.
do, I just
Yeah.
can't find them. They exist, I just can't find them.
Okay.
So this is like the front, not that you can really see it, but,
That's facing the parking lot?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is gonna be like what you'd see from Fort Street. You can't see it anyway.
I can see the basement where it
Yeah,
pops off.
where that pops out there. And these windows here, like are where the fitness room is. These over here.
There's a very weird glare from this angle.
Well, it's, we have the.
Oh, yeah, you can't even see it
Yeah, you
from-
can't see it.
No.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but, and I know that other towns run into this in their basements. If you have a basement in a public building, don't you have to have access for handicapped people?
No, not
You
if
don't
it's-
anymore?
Not if it's for, it doesn't have, you mean like an elevator to get up to?
Yeah.
It has to be accessible.
Oh, but if it doesn't have ground level access and there's a basement, all I'm saying is there was a town hall built with a 6-foot basement in it to get around that rule.
But there's no, it's not for public use, it's for.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
but you see where I'm going with that.
Yeah, it's just the mechanical
Yeah,
room.
and that so if you have a full basement,
Yeah,
then you've got to have
Elevator.
an elevator.
if you
We-
have
yeah, we-
occupied space in
right,
there.
we
Well, right,
Yeah.
but a garage would be an occupied space.
But there's no
Yes,
garage. It's
there's no
only.
No,
garage, it's just-
I know
yeah,
I know
yeah.
there isn't, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I
But
think
when
it
they
has
were
to be-
trying to do that, yeah, that was an issue, was the elevator.
I know it's an issue because it's been an issue in other
Yeah.
public buildings around
Right,
here.
right, because if you bring somebody in and they're handicapped, you gotta be able to get them upstairs.
Well, if you have city records down there, for
Yeah,
instance,
yeah.
then you would have to
Yeah.
make that accommodation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In one of the iterations of the plan.
But she did say on there, they have the fire marshal's permit and everything.
Yeah.
yeah, they said.
Oh,
just
no, I
had
mean,
it.
I know,
Yeah,
the
no,
way it's
I'm just-
designed now, yeah, it's gonna meet that criteria, but, yeah.
But it's 2 years,
But,
I mean,
but all those things add tremendously to the cost, yeah.
at that point.
That you don't have control over.
Yeah, no, but you're right. You know, when you see that building usually done with, hey,
Yeah, so originally, like, if you had processing for evidence in the basement, you'd have something like that, just like what you're saying, like a dumbwaiter, but you'd still have to have an elevator.
Yeah.
If you had any occupied space.
That's what fire marshal will take care of it. You go through your report.
Have they defined any further use for that basement area besides just the mechanical?
Just mechanical.
And what are they doing on the mezzanine then?
That's other mechanical.
More mechanical.
Yeah, it's all, everything above and below is all mechanical. There's no offices, there's no, it's not even storage of records, like,
Well, no, but
you can't even have that there.
In a former job, we ran into this
Yeah.
stuff,
Interesting.
and it complicates things.
Well, there have been many iterations of the design, and at some point, like Steve said, there was a full basement, and then there's varying sizes of partial basements, and it's kind of hard to keep track of, and a lot of, as we were going through that design process, there was undefined uses, basically say, well, here's just a spot, we don't know what we're gonna use it for, kind of thing.
Yeah, but,
It looks
yeah.
like they've narrowed it down, but they just need to know, we need to know that the use is going to be constrained because there is no, so if they're thinking about doing something to store records, well, they're gonna need to know that they can't do that.
Yeah, I just use that as an example, but it changes the design, because then if you're gonna store vehicles in the basement, then you gotta have room for it up, above ground and extra parking and all that kind of stuff.
Penny, can you
Yeah.
let Shelley know that the only thing that I do not see is, well, she says a new light, see electrical, but it doesn't say radius of light in the main spec sheet.
It may have it in, like, the number of foot candles. It could have that in the electrical plan.
It does.
So we have a
yeah.
whole manual.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can
Is that
try to
for-
match up what's,
Is that a pole light?
It's a pole light,
yeah.
yeah.
We can try to match up the the required information with where it is in the plan.
Yeah. I think that's the only thing I see missing.
And the elevations should give us like wall packs and that kind of lighting.
Yeah. Here's a flagpole.
Gosh, I don't even want to tell you how much time we spent talking about the flagpole.
It says flagpoles, so there's two
Yeah.
of them. One must be the state and one must be the U.S. flag. Any other discussion?
I'm guessing there's one flagpole for Make America Great Again? Okay, I did say that.
Area light on pole.
At one time, there was like 2 areas that had flagpoles, and I'm like, I thought we were down to 1 flagpole area. Anyway, a lot of discussion.
Just trying to humor you, Penny.
Yes, thanks for that.
Take you away from technology.
Yes, don't go there with technology. Okay, I'm hoping I've got everyone's stuff. So Amanda, I made 3 arrows, but I can only remember 2 things. Why no access from Fort Street and elevations all sides? Was there something else? And then I had from Eric, contaminated soils and what drainage was gonna look like for that.
Would there be
You
some
mean-
sort of membrane under the building?
There's a vapor barrier below the slab. Or you,
Just
and
poly or something?
most, the state of Maine plumbing person now requires radon mitigation systems in every building.
Even a slab?
Not a slab, anything with, no, yes, even a slab,
Really?
yeah. For, I think public buildings, not public buildings, but commercial or whatever.
Hmm.
And I think it's highly encouraged for residential,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, other than that,
How do you capture radon gas if,
you put stone
you're a
below,
slab.
you put stone below the slab and you suck air through the stone and
geez.
pump it up.
It's ventilation, basically.
Yeah, it's just a big fan that sucks air from underneath the slab.
And for a building this big, you probably need a few access points in this slab.
But that's not mentioned in this one.
That's not in here.
Let's not go there.
It's not in here.
Also, to build a commercial standard, they'll have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they know that, but.
Should we inquire?
I've got it down right now.
Okay.
I mean, we could go look at the plumbing plans, it'll tell us real quick.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, you said, you had a point about access from Ford Street.
Yeah.
I had a similar concern. It wasn't that specifically, but it had to do with an alternate emergency vehicle egress for the police cars. That never got addressed, because you can see that there's no alternate. If something happened, calamitous event happened there at Birdseye in the driveway, they're trapped. There's no way that the police can get out. And I raised this earlier on, and I thought they had taken care of it, but I don't see that there's an alternate.
Yeah, especially if that's used for something down the road. As she mentioned, it's the same access to get into the, whatever the development's gonna be there.
Caribou crossings.
No
Yeah,
emergency
right.
alternate access for the.
What if the two flagpoles fall down and block the road off?
That's right, that's right. We could
See?
have, we could have a flagpole incident.
Or a tractor trailer gonna be up somewhere or something, yeah.
Well, yeah, Birdseye, what if Birdseye has a delivery or something and they're blocking, I don't know, no, I mean, on Birdseye Avenue. I don't know, I don't think it's required by code, but,
It's logical.
yeah. I mean, and I know the elevation's a, you know,
That's a good
it's
point.
a steep elevation, but it's not insurmountable.
Just $250,000 add-on.
No, or just gravel it and then pave it later. Make the CUD come and give you a culvert.
Wait, we
You
got,
come screaming down the hill there on the gravel pathway, and then.
Onto Fort, yeah.
Go out onto Fort Street, and then make a path maybe to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just gravel it for now. CUD needs to put in a culvert, but,
well, we got some fill coming out of the pond that's got a lot of clay content. That hardens nothing.
I mean, you go from 457, you've got to make it from 457 down to 443 to hit the, but I don't know what it is at the fort. Wait, hold on, there it is right there.
It's only 14 feet.
It's steep, but I don't think it's insurmountable.
It's not.
Not for a police car.
That's just a Yahoo trip,
Yeah.
or a wheel, or hold my beer, I'm gonna try something.
That would be,
Jumpstart your car.
or actually it would have to be in the middle of the parking lot because it's at a parking spot. So you
I
go
remember
from
correctly,
458.
the entrance into that place was right by, you know,
That's what I thought.
was right there, but it all got altered at not that long ago.
That's
It was
what I
always a
thought.
driveway in through there, on that, right by Route 1.
On that side,
Yeah,
but
there was
then-
always, that was where remember there was
So
the
they
little block house that
yeah.
was there?
Yeah, so
There
they
was
put the
always a
service-
driveway there, and it wasn't that steep, so I don't know what happened, but.
Well, now
Because
there's
this
a
is up
propane
farther.
tank.
It's up closer to.
Well, now there's a
yeah.
propane tank and a generator in the way on that side. So on that side, you have to go to 449 down to, I can't see.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
numbers.
that's where the existing driveway used to be,
449
but.
Down to, I can't see the numbers.
Frank's got readers on. You can
They're covered by other lines. 448, 447, 446, 3 feet, 5 feet, but the tank's in the way now. So the propane tank is in the way.
Those can be moved.
They can be
I
moved.
was gonna
you just have
say,
to move it
they're
farther
not
away.
actually there right now.
Yeah.
But it's buried, so, but all you'd have to do is move it to the east and continues surface drive down, but anyways, I digress.
Well,
That
that's
probably
straighten
is
that
not-
all out.
It's probably not any steeper than if you're leaving the parking lot of the police station here.
No,
on-
it's not.
Onto Main Street.
That is yeah,
So that's-
or even up, either one.
Well, at least they got two ways.
They do.
Well, there. Glad we have that solved.
Just, gravel it. Have Soderberg's get the bid and then just say, hey, can you throw some gravel over there for me?
Home company.
Yeah, I know, right? And then put in a lovely culvert.
So, need a motion?
I would, unless if there's other discussion, anybody wants to review it a little bit more,
There's nothing left to discuss.
I know. No police station sign, Penny?
What's that?
No police station sign?
It will be on the building.
It's on the building, not freestanding.
It's not in the budget.
Okay. All right.
See, it's right here on the side, as you can see it.
Okay. Oh, do you even got birds in there?
Yeah, we're high tone here. We even have a canine.
It's a border patrol officer there.
And apple trees, cherry trees?
I don't know, they look a bit like,
Well, there's the
like
flagpole.
Oh, they're
some
both
kind
there.
of, almost like a lilac or a dogwood or a crepe myrtle or something. Not really.
Whose office is upstairs?
None, that's mezzanine. There's a lot, so not right there where the windows are, but back is more mechanical.
Is
up
that
there.
open?
That is open to below.
Yeah.
To the lobby,
Yeah. Okay.
the secure lobby. So on this side where you're seeing these, like, these windows here, this is, you know, over where you have like Sally Port storage and the canine area here. And then this over here is like the conference room off the chief's office. Okay, so we have a motion.
Steve's ready.
Do we?
Steve's ready.
Yeah, we can, I'd say we've looked it over, we can advance it.
Okay, so motion by Steve to approve the concept and move to a public hearing at the next meeting.
Second.
That's what I'm hearing, okay.
I'll second that paraphrase motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Take roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Eric?
Yep.
It passes. We'll go to public hearing. Mr. Bagley, you are up next.
Hello, good evening. I wanted to start by saying thank you to the planning board for all of your work on this comprehensive plan. Amazing amount of work. It looks like we're getting close now. And thanks go to the staff that's supporting it as well. And I know it reaches out in a lot of different ways to very different parts of the administration and the city, and I'm just very excited that we're getting close to the end of it. So, thank you all for your help on that.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing. And I appreciate your focus on having a living document that is actually useful and relevant. Because so often we come up with comprehensive plans that sit on the shelf, and that's not good. So, I don't know if any of you happened to catch our last council meeting, but there's a little bit of background. The Office of Cannabis Policy has changed up some rules on caregiver operations. Without going into the details, it has impacted at least one of our caregiver providers on the Bog Road. And they're kind of stuck because they're stuck in not being able to continue operations as they have been without an ordinance change. And so now there's kind of a renewed interest in looking at revising our ordinances to allow for caregiver storefronts to operate in Caribou, which is beyond what we have today. So I give you that as a heads up. It may be coming, it may not. I don't know how it's going to play out at the council level at this point. But you might just be thinking about that that's all happening in the background. And that's really all I had. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And Penny has been researching it diligently, and she's much, much smarter than I am on all of this stuff. So if you have anything to add, Penny, you can talk more about it in your report. I wanted to let the planning board know that this
Oh,
is happening.
100p.
Pardon?
I said 100%, yes, yeah.
That's it. Any questions for me? Any requests or
I have a comment.
advice? I didn't ask for comments.
You're gonna get one anyways
Yeah.
from Dave. You're gonna get one from him anyways.
In speaking to other entities, I was advised to not go near changing that ordinance in the least, because that opens the door. So I'm just passing that advice on.
Yeah, we're struggling with what those impacts might be. We're looking at different things that we could do,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't believe that there's a consensus among staff and council yet in which direction to go. I know there have been a lot of opinions expressed informally, but we haven't brought it to a vote yet, so.
I know we had a straw poll here, what, year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was in
It's been coming up.
23, I think.
And there was no interest, zero, and I don't think it's changed that much. Who's the newest member on here? Was it Frank?
Maura would be
Or
new.
would be the newest, yeah.
Because I think everybody else would have been here, and
We've been
I'm pretty
here.
sure it's 23 is when that
Mm.
happened.
Yeah,
The straw poll.
the straw poll.
Mhm.
I would be very hesitant to write an ordinance without hearing public comment.
Well said.
Yep.
Been there, done that.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Where and when?
Easton.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did right.
Did they opt into retail and all?
No, we opt out of everything.
Yeah.
And that all came from public comment.
Yeah.
Everything came in from
Yep.
public comment, and the planning board, that brought it into
Right.
where they figured Prescott was close enough that if that was a ventured in and that was the way that they could go, and again, the community of 5, 6 churches, and a lot of them came out. We had probably one of our biggest public hearings we've ever had. So
Yep.
we wrote 2 ordinances, one for retail, sale, and then the other one was for harvesting. We
Yep.
wrote, because they were 2 different ordinances.
They are two different things, yeah. And both have two different, very different impacts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you, 8 miles apart from Prescott?
7.
7, and we're 11, so
We're very close to them.
can we borrow
is
your
it-
language?
Yeah.
We have.
Prescott's right down the road.
Right.
Yeah, we took our stuff, obviously went to MMA legal.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Used MMA legal to make sure that we staying in line with what was proposed out there, because as you said, and you know, I talked to Penny earlier about having a caregiver. You know, we never really got into that piece of that ordinance because of the side of it was just a blank no. They really didn't want to do anything with it. And the council was, our board was kind of split a little bit in different ways, but I think the public hearings what really threw.
Well, the current situation is there, so the whole caregiver thing is done outside of municipal control.
Correct.
Entirely. Correct. It's a state-run program, it's state licensed, it's state enforced, and we don't even know who in town is doing it, right? We only recently found out.
Yeah, recently, yeah.
Six of them, right?
Yeah, it's just recently.
Just recently we
Yeah.
found out.
Yeah.
But they're not obligated to tell us. When they get a license,
Right.
they're not obligated to tell the town, and we have no idea.
We have caregivers.
But the whole point is, these caregivers, the way they're supposed to operate is they're supposed to be very private, you know, in their homes, maybe. And they have clientele who might give them a call, make an appointment, and discreetly come in, get their advice and their service and their product, and quietly, whatever. And it's supposed to be all kind of low-key. Not a storefront with hours and a big sign and lights and traffic coming in and out all day, all hours of day and night. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is they have tweaked that caregiver program to open up a little bit to allow a storefront, a sign, regular hours.
But the municipality still has to give permission for that.
Right.
For them to have a caregiver retail store.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't have a
Right,
program.
we do not have that.
And we are being asked to consider writing an ordinance to allow this company to continue operating the way they have been over the last however many years they've been here as a storefront in violation of state rules that weren't enforced. But we're now being asked to change up our ordinances, and correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Okay.
I'll jump in if
Please.
you're, yeah.
And
To add to our-
accommodate
yeah.
this one business who wants to continue operations in Caribou as he has been. Yeah, so that's that.
Okay, moving on. Thank you.
Penny is up next. Staff report.
So I have in here your April grant project updates. Again, with the CERCLA, we keep getting put off when they're going to demobilize. We can't start at the diesel plant until the CERCLA folks are out of the steam plant. Everything's going well with the Main Connectivity Authority project at the Caribou Public Library. MBRC, we have our final notice to proceed. We're trying to get a Riverfront Committee meeting scheduled. We had one scheduled. I was sick and we had to cancel it, but we're trying to get that set up again so we can go out for bid for the Riverfront Master Plan. The congressionally directed spending requests, we've talked about the police station here tonight. We've talked about the Caribou Pond and Park reclamation. Improvements to the fire station. I didn't know if, Jim, if you wanted to talk at all about that. You've been working on that more. EPA brownfields, literally Karen and I, like, all we're talking about is, have you had any calls from a 202 area code? Because like we're just like panicked, like we even looked at the dates when they announced them in years past, and is it the third Monday of May?
Is when the big announcement, but typically they called
Yes.
Penny a couple of weeks ahead and said, oh, you got your grant, we just
Yeah.
want you to know, but don't say anything.
But don't say anything, but I made sure that Tricia House has got all my numbers. I've made sure Jim Byrne at EPA has all my numbers.
We haven't heard anything, so.
But we haven't heard anything, so I'm starting to get concerned. If this week goes by and we haven't heard anything, I got a feeling it's a no. But we were asking for $4 million, which is the max, and they're only giving out 10 in the whole country. So, but even though I feel like we had an excellent
Well,
application,
everybody said
and even everyone at EPA New England said we had an excellent application. We get a lot of help through the University of Connecticut. We paid for, which is free from UConn, we paid for help from Civi and Maher to do our ABCA for us. And also just help with some of the technical parts
It's
of.
a lot bigger project.
Yeah, yeah, there, and you only have 10 pages. And so I know that it sounds like 10 pages should be a lot, but you have very specific things you have to address in these 10 pages. And trying to get all of that on a project the size of the steam, well, even
Political. It's gonna be
yes,
political.
and certain things had to be addressed. But again, I feel like in the end, we had an excellent application, but we're competing against the whole country for 10 grants. And Maine is on the federal naughty list. And so that could actually impact it also.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, so we're concerned about that. EPA has also, had a lot of challenges with the new administration. So between those two things, the EPA is not going to want to cause problems for themselves by electing to do one of their 10 big projects in the state that's on the naughty list. So, but it didn't sound like from Maine, there were other big projects. I think we were the only one that had applied for a big project.
And all of New England.
Yeah, I don't even think in New England they had ones of the magnitude that we're asking for.
I know how you can get off the naughty list.
Well, I don't.
It goes back to that second flagpole, and I told you what to fly.
Yeah. And we are in the second district, and I get that and everything, but we still live in Maine. Although one of my friends who lives in Indiana sent me the thing about trying to secede, that Aroostook County was going to secede, and she's like, "Don't you live in Aroostook County?" And I had not even seen it, because of course I'm not on social media, but it was one of my close friends from growing up that sent it to me.
Oh, there's a movement to Aroostook County.
Yeah.
It's the state of Maine.
What? Oh,
The state
whole
of Maine
state
becomes
is
the
a
11th
secede?
province.
Yeah, so, yeah.
terrible.
So the DOT VPI, we're still working on that. The housing opportunity, I haven't even really started with that. Our community development block grant, we actually are working very closely with the business. We got all of their equipment and supplies ordered for them. And so that's going good. Some of them have already been delivered. Monthly permit report, sorry. I actually just did the report for the 2024 annual report, and we were down in permits in 24, but so far 25 has been pretty busy. Still haven't found a code officer. We have people who call almost every day. But I will say, I did send out a batch of notices of violation, and the ones I sent it to seem to be pretty receptive, and stuff's getting cleaned up.
Good.
Yeah. Like out on Route 1, where there were two properties side by side, and yeah.
That's
So, you
very
know,
noticeable.
yeah, and so those were ones that came up, and yeah, and we've had people call and actually reach out to the city to say that they were grateful, so. Because Caribou has some wonderful citizens, and they appreciate what we do here, so. That's it. Jim, did you have anything you want to talk about fire station or anything?
Well, we have our opening, obviously, on Monday.
Can you talk at the microphone so people at home can hear?
But we do have, on Monday, we have our opening for the pre-qualification to select 3 engineers firms, and then take that forward, if you will, have it reviewed by people of the building committee, and then let that, take the 3 selected, give it back out to them and let them come in with a final bid. Then once we have the final bid, we hope to have it before the council on the 27th, I believe, or the 28th, I'm not real sure.
Oh, you mean, for the city council? We
Right.
have, in June, we have meetings on the 16th and the 30th.
Then I think it's on the 16th that
And,
we're trying to get it in there.
Yeah,
to
and
make sure we
then
have
in
everything
July, it'd be like the 4th Monday in
Right.
July.
So we're trying to get it in too early, so that hopefully we'll have everything back to us. But it's gone well, real good. I think everything from the fire chief has been very receptive in the things that they want to do, and it is a nice project. It obviously helps the female side, if you will, of the fire department, as we try to separate that out for new employees that are coming in with it too. So it is a real good project, and everybody's on board. We had a good pre-conference, if you will. I see Amanda's here, so we were able to answer and get some of those questions out there, but it was a lot. It was a real good time, and the chief did an excellent job. I really do want to make sure that that's out there, because the way that he carried himself around the building and answering questions and things was really helpful to the engineers that were in there. I did want to, and I don't mean to do this out, but back when we were talking about the comprehensive plan, I want to make sure that the board, and especially Dan, now that you're here, and that the council, that the planning board understands. I did the physical capacity and the capital investment piece of the plan. One of the things, looking at your old plan, there just wasn't any way that you were going to buy a fire truck in the next 506 years by putting away $15 a month. But what was really nice was
We
the
have it on
idea-
layaway.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. We do have a layaway plan, and
Yeah, I'm just
we were
kidding.
going to throw that in there. But the thing is what we did was, when we looked at the physical capacity of the city, it was very favorable, and a good amount of money at your what you call your government fund balance at the end of the year, because you have a general fund balance and you have a government fund balance down here, and you were always quite high in that fund balance. So what we did with that was we took your capital investment side and we broke it out. What Caribou does is Caribou buys a lot of things on their own, right? You need something, you go buy it. It seems as we've gone through things and we've looked at them. So what this did was just build a structure. What I really want you to be attentive to is the idea that we built that structure on your physical capacity. So it does talk about putting real money away into a reserve account, right? But it's on paper. Because again, looking back and seeing the way that Caribou does business sometimes, it's through grants and what you have in your general fund, which sets down in your general funds that will satisfy pieces of that grant funding. But we had to make a real capital investment plan, so we did. And I just don't want you to be alarmed when you see those numbers. Again, comprehensive plan, and don't get me wrong, I think we talked about this before, it's a dream, right? This is where we want to go. This is our thing. You're not always going to get there. I heard you mention it earlier, Dan. You're not going to answer everything in there, but at least you have something on your shelf that you have a plan with to be able to go forward with. I don't believe you'd ever get all of them done in a 10-year period before you did your next one, but there would be some of those things that would sit back there and be able to be done again into your next one, just as you've done with your 2014 plan. Some of those things have come forward into your 2024 plan or 2025 plan. But I really wanted you to just understand that piece of it, because you're going to see it and go, oh my God, I'm going to put $45,000 away over here for this fire truck. You are, because you have the money to do it. You have that in your physical capacity, and you'll see that on the study, the analysis that we did. And those analyses were all done through audits, town reports. We dug into a lot of stuff to get those numbers out of there. But you can't, again, being fair to the comprehensive plan and being fair to the state planning office is going to take a look at that. They'd really like to see, that side of it showed out there. And again, it comes back to nothing gets done unless the council approves it, right? I don't care how you look at it. Yeah, no matter how you look at it, right? But it's just in a real world, this is what, different communities do different things. It's as simple as that. They do. In Easton we had actual reserve accounts. In Ashland we had our government general fund, and that's what we went to. Whenever we needed something, we get a grant, and we supplemented that grant with money that was in our general government fund. A lot of people call it surplus. That's the worst word in the world. There is no surplus.
It always has a purpose.
Yeah, you don't ever bring that up. You don't bring that to anybody. We have no surplus, right? We we might have unfunded money, but we don't have
Yeah.
any surplus, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that we understood that as we move forward. So when you do see that, I mean, I'll explain it all to you at the point when we come down to that, and you'll see exactly how we got to where we were.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I think our capital planning and capital investment strategy needs a lot of improvement.
Mhm.
Over the years, what's tended to happen is when we get into budget trouble, the first thing that gets cut is our capital investments, which is the worst thing we can do.
Right.
But we do it. I mean, that's how councils have behaved over the last however many years.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we have, I think that comprehensive plan will be helpful to that, because it gives an overall strategy that the council can then use to map out a real capital investment plan. Because right now, we don't do it correctly.
Yeah.
We lay out what we're gonna spend this year in capital investments without
Mhm.
any context as to where we've been and where we're going.
Right.
Right? And so it's maddening to me, because I can't understand what I'm looking at, and I don't know if these numbers are good or not.
Yeah.
And so this will give it some additional maybe context or guidance, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was coming out of the department heads too, as to the life, like the life of certain vehicles, the life of a fire truck, the life of a snowplow.
Right, we need that.
You know, yeah, how
Yeah.
those things lay
They
down.
know that
Yeah.
up here.
Right.
But it,
It gets translated on a piece of paper,
Right.
and we're getting better, by the way. We're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
better. Because I know Gary, I think Chief LaJoy, I don't wanna name names, good or bad, but I'm just saying, some of the department heads are thinking those terms now. And
Yeah.
I'll start laying out, okay, this is what I need over the next 5 years to replace or recapitalize this equipment at such and such a time. So we're getting there.
Yep.
But we're not there yet.
Okay.
So.
And I
this will
think
be
this
helpful.
will just kind of lay it out as to, again, as we looked at what they needed, right? This is like, you know, the chief says, well, we got a ladder truck's gonna cost us, I don't know, 1.3 million, right? So how do we get to the 1.3 million, right? How do we get there? Well, then we save, just as we did when we were kids,
we
right?
really needed him for that.
When-
His expertise in being town manager.
When we were kids, right, we saved our money for a bike, right?
Well, the other.
Couldn't
the
get it
other-
all at once, maybe had to pick 10 barrels that day, but.
The other option, of course, is to borrow, all right, borrow to invest
Sure.
in the infrastructure.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're gonna build hangars out at the airport,
Mhm.
that's gonna be a loan, right?
Yeah.
Or a grant, I mean, you go
Sure.
for the grants, but
Sure.
you've gotta be willing to borrow money
Mm-hmm.
to put something in place as an investment to
Yes.
generate revenue,
Sure.
to build your infrastructure. You
Yep.
can do that.
Makes, yeah.
No, I know.
But it
I mean,
makes-
we had the 1.5,
Sometimes you gotta
Loan.
spend money to make money, right?
but that was like for infrastructure thing, that was to catch up on all of the capital.
Deferred
the
maintenance.
capital-
Yeah, deferred
maintenance.
Yeah.
items that-
Yeah.
That had been
Yep.
deferred for so
Yep.
many years. And so that was a loan to catch up, but we don't think in terms of how do we invest in our future, in our
Mhm.
infrastructure, the way we should.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see housing,
Mm-hmm.
airport development, riverfront development,
Mhm. Mhm.
cities. There's no reason why we can't go out and get a loan and build an apartment complex, or
But-
build a, a spec building, or an industrial
Sure.
park, or do the infrastructure for an industrial park. We have to start investing in those things.
But-
If that means borrowing money, I know for me, I know that makes sense. I can't speak for the rest of the council.
Right. But you are right. The first thing that a council will do is that low-hanging fruit, which is your capital investments, right?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't really fall into your operational side of the
You
world.
don't have to fire
You
anybody.
don't have to fire anybody. I tried to find another way to say it, but, you know, it just falls into the
Nobody
operation.
wants to let anybody go, I mean,
And keep
me,
them.
myself included.
Right.
But I think your first priority is your infrastructure, your second priority is your current year operation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to cut, you have to cut.
Yeah, there's no.
Or
choice.
raise taxes,
Or more, yeah.
which I
sometimes.
don't like
Yeah.
either. Anyway, but again, thank you for doing that.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing that. Cool.
I don't have any, I mean, on the fire department, we're all set.
Good.
Thank you.
Moving right along.
Thank you. Any last discussion items before I'll entertain a motion?
Anyone?
Any motion for anything?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Eric motioned,
Second?
seconded by Dave. Roll call. Steve.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 8:10. Penny.
Oh, that's the fastest, too loud. Meetings.
I'm reviewing the land use. Yeah.
I took the million
Maybe
out.
the middle of next week.
Yeah.
Penny has to, go down state. Maybe we can.
I'm like, Jay, Sunday.
Her too about what she wants to do.
Yeah, we'll see what her.
So when I mentioned the line on the,
Oh, yeah.
so instead of the blue line, just to follow the.
Right, right, okay. Oh, yeah, okay, so go along the river, like the whole thing, right there. And then even here, like even here. I mean, why not, right? I don't know why this line
Normal
is,
natural boundary.
right, and it's gonna be a property line, you know what I mean? So,
So that's Otter Brook.
this,
That would be Otter.
this is,
Yeah, this would be Otter
this
Brook.
is Otterbrook, yeah, this is Otterbrook, that's Madawaska. And then this is obvious right here.
Why not?
To, you know what I mean? I don't know why they came, but this is